Hello everybody, welcome to MTA number 9, that is episode 9 for the 7th of August 2018. I'm Mosen and I bring to you the next episode of the Vanilla WoW Daily series. And the topics are 40-man raiding, blessing or curse. A lot of rumors going on with that topic. Was Vanilla WoW hard? Or Vanilla WoW is hard? And gold farming tips, number 4. Alright, I want to talk... Well, first, I want to talk about First of all, I didn't release these MTAs over the last days because I was with... I was gone with family stuff, with the girlfriend and all that, and you know how that is. Then, you know, you're staying a day longer than you really wanted to, and yeah, there's a lot of family, like birthdays and stuff going on. So we did that. So yeah, I released one of the... I released MTA number 8 today. And so this one will schedule tomorrow, and then I'll pre-record another one. So there will be stuff to watch. Also, cool that everyone shows up in the stream a lot more, and you know, that's actually pretty cool. So if you haven't yet, check out the streams. I'll stream some more other stuff, not just raids. I've gotten quite, like, streaming raids is actually not that awesome. But I'll go into that maybe in another episode. I just found that it's gotten really frustrating to stream while you raid. So I'll want to stream some other stuff, maybe some leveling on Northdale and maybe PvP again, because that always seemed to interest a lot of people. Speaking of that though, let's jump right into the first topic. 40-man raiding, blessing or curse. I've been talking to, I think it was Necrush the other day. 40-man raiding, and a lot of people obviously in the classic community, you know, praise it in the highest forms, that it is something that made Vanilla so great. I would absolutely agree with having 40-man as one of the key points. I just thought about that topic because, like, right now, as you can see probably in the video, we're standing here in the hinterlands, spotted Lethon, or Lethan, or whatever, and we're trying to get a raid group together. It's still, you know, quite early, but yeah, we're struggling to get the raid group together. Like, we only need 25 around to kill them, or 20 or so. But yeah, not many guilds are interested at the moment. This is on Lightbringer. But it's cool that we can do this content. But again, like 40-man raiding, blessing or curse, that kind of relates to this, right? You always kind of need as many people as you can get. And especially, you know, now, it's always been kind of a struggle to always have, you know, the exact full raid, without having to bench 10 people, but also without being 5 people or 2 or 3 people short every raid. And a lot of people just really like the 40-man stuff, which I absolutely can understand. But for me as a raid lead, it also has some other, or guild lead even, it has some other aspects to it, right? And that is probably, I mean, if you've ever done any pug or you led a group that was in the 40-man size, you know what I mean with you know what I mean with being people short at raid invite, and then, you know, you re-recruit constantly basically to always fill this 40-man raiding group, and then at some point you will have to bench a lot of people. So we got to a point where we actually had to bench 8-10 people, and if you bench them enough, of course they're gonna say, well, we gotta look for something else to do, you know, maybe another guild that can actually take me still. And that creates problems because you still want to keep those people obviously in your guild. But if you say, okay, this is our squad now, we you know, we don't want to recruit too many people, then what can happen is, especially on, like, still on private servers here, a lot of people just aren't showing up that reliably. And with a 20-man squad like it was in, or was in Legion, or 25 men raiding size. Like in Burning Crusade, you had like a small squad. It's usually the same. You can already see this in vanilla. You always usually have your 25, 30 core players. They're basically there for every raid all the time. And then you have like a, those 35 or 30 make up like, 3/4 of that raid. And then you have like a bunch of like 30 people in your guild that are, checking in occasionally, and they usually fill the 7 other spots, like 5 to 7 other spots, whenever they can, like socials, normal members, friends, whatever. And then you're short 3 people, so that means you need to up the core player squad a little bit. But if you don't constantly recruit, someone will quit or so, maybe has RL stuff going on or whatever, and then you all of a sudden you're 5 men short. But obviously you want to always bring 40 people. While in MC that is not really much of a problem. Starting in Blackwing Lair, things can, especially when it's not a farm yet, get hairy pretty quickly. AQ40 is the best example. You always want to have 40 to just minimize the time you have to drag through that silly trash. So for me, to be quite honest, I love the 40 man rating. It has the epicness to it. But if I could choose, I'd probably want to go... I'll probably go with 25, right? Or even 30. I'm not saying change in the middle. I'll just keep it 40. That's how it is. It's awesome. It's epic. I'm just saying it's not that much of a blessing as people maybe think, especially if you have to lead the raid. Then again, it creates an interesting challenge, though, to manage this huge pool of players in a guild and to always combine them in a 40-man raid group that's actually working. So it has its pros and cons. I personally just think it's the size is just five people too big. Usually the critical mass is like 30 and 35, and that's pretty comfortable for a raid lead. Other than that, yeah, that's probably all I gotta say to that topic. But I mean, people have different opinions about it. So if you have any opinion about that, just let me know in the comments. I can pick it up. I'm really interested in hearing what people say. 40 man has its beauties, and it's just a maximum size. Don't get me wrong. You can also do everything with 35 if they're good players. And sometimes even, maybe one more thing, like sometimes some people that you take are actually more of a burden than they are an addition. If you're 38 people and you take in the 2 shitters that basically heal 20% of what a normal, I don't know, paladin priest would heal, right? Then they're more of a burden because they eat damage and have to be healed, thus splitting the efficient heal of the good healers. And they themselves don't put anything out. Same for DPS, or people just don't get anything sorted. They constantly have to be rezzed, which takes a lot of time. They constantly have to be rebuffed, which takes time. They don't find the entrance. They, all that good stuff. So, sure, like sometimes I'd agree, like 40 man is just the maximum size of a raid. Sometimes you don't get fooled into taking all the 40 people. But let me know what you think. I think it's pretty cool that the maximum size is 40, and the vanilla stuff has a certain beauty to it. I do still remember, because that was my most hardcore time when I raided, the Burning Crusade 25-man raids, and for me that was the perfect size. Because you had that 25 ultra core squad, and in really big guilds had 2 25-man squads, like A and B squad, and they had different goals, and that was pretty cool. And you could always jump from squad B to A, and then you would have around like 50, and a total guild size of like 80, and then you could switch around pretty cool. That's awesome. Now the 40-man raid group, usually have the raid group A. We tried building B, but then the server is already too progressed. And yeah, for that one 40-man group, it's actually pretty hard to fill that up consistently, and that's why you always need fillers, which is not really fair to the fillers, right? I don't want to have someone in the guild to tell them, no, you're like a filler. If the good people aren't there, then you can come. But that's partially true. Yes. So, as you can see, this is a little bit harder here, but let's jump into topic number 2, and I just picked this up in the world chat. Man, that was probably the most cancerous discussion of the day. Some toilet brush claimed that, you know, well, Vanilla, he's always trolling, people fed him. I just read that, and it just reminded me how people sometimes act like, you know, Vanilla WoW was so hard and difficult, right? And all these retail babies, everything's really easy. While that is true for LFR and normal mode raids, which are just a complete joke, and I don't get the existence of them. But people then come here and act like, okay, well, this is classic, this is so hard and hardcore. I just wanted to remind people that Vanilla WoW used to be a really casual game, and when it came out, it was really easy to get into and easy to play, and maybe a little bit hard to be, you know, one of the top guilds, one of the top players of the server, but it's not hard. Okay, it's very time consuming, and don't get me wrong, there's more aspects here in Vanilla that are that require maybe there's more depth to the classes. To some absolutely not. You like a holy paladin, you spam flash of light, and maybe that's too hard for some people. Keeping buffs up. It's more of the kind of the meta game, or you have a class and you can play it easily. And vanilla, what people I think mean with being hard is you have a certain depth to it. That means you can be a normal fury warrior and hit you know, your bloodthirst, or you can really dig out all the small tips and tricks, right? You can have weapon switch macros. You can be a prot warrior that just tanks, and then when his target is dead, you just, you know, smack the other tank's target with your one-hand sword. Or you can be a prot warrior that, you know, stands switches and gets out a nightfall and supports the raid and does a lot of damage in the off time when he's not tanking, and so you don't stand there being useless. There's a couple of things. You can be really good with a normal character. And I think, you know, there's a lot of shit that, I mean, if you look at some players' performance in raids, like some holy paladin or whatever, and another holy paladin, you know, you will get the impression that maybe this guy healed for, you know, let's say as much as 12% of the whole raid's healing, while the other guy managed to get to 4%. Now, why is that? Obviously, there's good and bad players, but some people just, you know, you have the potential to get a lot out of this. Oh my God. And obviously, that is part of vanilla too. You know, to have the opportunity to go deep into the class. There is a certain depth to it that you can achieve if you really try. So, sure, like vanilla was not really hard in itself. That's just absolutely not true. And if you look at MC, what is there to do really? Now in AQ40, there's a couple of mechanics that come in. Starting in Blackroom there a little bit, but even there, that's still basic. The bosses themselves. Once we get into AQ40, right, we get some more abilities, like for example the twins, where you have to completely outrun, otherwise they're gonna heal each other to full. You know, Satoon is an amazing cool fight. Uru has some mechanics, etc, etc. So there is stuff to do there, but don't mistake it for being hard. If you've ever raided, you know, maybe BC or Wrath of the Lich King, the hard stuff there, you know what I mean with it being more challenging than this. And I mean, starting in Next now, there's also some really easy bosses, obviously, but there's also some bosses which actually start having mechanics. Again, it's not really hard. I just think that there's a certain depth to it, and you can play it on a different level. But don't mistake it, or even saying leveling is hard. Of course, I wouldn't agree that saying leveling in Classic is really easy. For me, certainly it is. Yes, I would agree for me personally. But generally speaking, I don't think you could say it's easier or harder. No, actually, easier than like Legion leveling. Leveling's always gotten easier because it's really easy content. It's supposed to be easy for people, right? But I would agree that in vanilla, it used to be a little more unforgiving, let's put it that way, right? And not necessarily hard or anything, but you would die a lot more often, and you would have to do group quests or other stuff, and yeah, you know, finding a lot of recipes and finding out where a lot of quests are, you know, you would have to read up for yourself or discover stuff in the world or go explore or talk to people, group up, kill elites, etc. So there's a certain roughness to the leveling, more so than I think in retail or anything. But please just don't mistake vanilla for being hard when it really wasn't. It has a certain say more free character to it, where you can do a lot of stuff in a certain way, in a casual way, but you can also do it in a more hardcore way. Okay, and for the last tip of the day, I'm going to show you some footage, and this will be required, or this gold farming tip number 4, I think it is, takes us to the dreaded island, and it's below the Feather Moon Stronghold Island in Faralas. I'm gonna try to get this into the video here. And on that island, once I believe it was the AQ patch, and you do the you do the Brood of Nostormu quest line, gonna check it on Classic DB, maybe tell you. Basically the quest line where you loot the head of the Broodlord Lash Layer, and once you got that, you don't need to do the quest to do this gold farming method. Excuse me. But what you do need is I think at the start, probably like a 3-4 man group. If you're not, you know, if you haven't done this before, just go with a 5-man group. And what you want to do is you want to kill the Chimerox for the Chimeric Tenderloins, because they will be transformed into the 25 stamina food, which is absolutely imperative to have for anything starting in AQ 40 and especially next Rammus. It's going to be spammed as hell. So that's a really good opportunity of income, what you can grind. If you have some more gear, you can actually do this, like me and Holy Priest usually do it in a 2-man group, and that's a lot of cash. But yeah, you can do it in a 5-man group and split everything up evenly at the end. And there you go. That's another gold farming tip for you. It's pretty straightforward. You go to the isle, you kill the stuff, you count the stuff that you have in the end, and divide it by the people that helped. And it's pretty cool. And if you did the quest line, at the end you get the recipe for Dirge's Kickin' Chimeric Chops. That is the 25% stamina buff food, and you can cook those and then sell them for even more profit. Alright, thank you very much for tuning in to the MTA. It was quite a long one, but I think covered some cool topics. Check out the stream. Thank you very much for liking and subscribing. It's very much appreciated, and I'll see you in the next one.
Bow down before